What I'd like to do is really just tell you two stories, okay? And the first one is actually about my sister-in-law. She's a high school teacher in Southern California. About 5 years ago, she got sick, went to the doctor. Of course, she got some medicine, went home, still sick. Repeated this cycle several times. 8 months later, she's still sick and not getting better. Doesn't know why. A student, not the doctor, a student in her high school biology class says, "Miss Rosella, I think you have valley fever, just like my mother had." She went and got tested, and sure enough, she had valley fever. So she knew we're pretty close, so she came to me and says, "You work in infectious diseases. What do you know about valley fever?" And I said, "Absolutely nothing." So what happened over the next year is her and I both learned about valley fever. And I'm going to give you the good news first. She got better, totally healed now. That's the good news. The bad news is not only did she go for 8 months with misdiagnosis, we went for the next year with doctors not understanding what the lab test meant, not giving her the right medication. And so I worked with her over the year and contradicted the doctor many times of what to do. But we did get better. And through that, we learned a couple things in some of the stats that you just mentioned, how it's been increasing over the since 2000, about tenfold, how 6 people died here in San Luis Obispo. And it's a local disease, considered local, because it's really only the southwestern part of the United States. So that's the first story. The second story is actually about me. About 13 years ago, I wanted to live in Central Coast, and so I moved here and started a company focused on using the tools of biotechnology to help improve the quality of life. One of our main focuses is to develop heat-stable, low-cost oral vaccines. And with that, we've been working on, our lead candidate is actually hepatitis B vaccine, and we've worked on HIV, Ebola, things you probably have heard about. Valley fever was not on the list anywhere because it's not that well known. But it is really important to this community, and as a member of this community and trying to help our neighbors, we said we were going to try to tackle this, so we did. And 5 years ago, I said I knew nothing about it, so it turns out there is a laboratory in University of Texas, San Antonio, with Dr. Hung, who's been working 15 years trying to develop some good vaccine candidates. There's another laboratory in University of Massachusetts in Boston by Dr. Ostroff, and he's been working trying to figure out how to make fungal vaccines, because as someone mentioned earlier this morning, most of our vaccines are for viruses and fungals. There is no fungal vaccines today, and he's been trying to figure out how to enhance them. So the three of us actually got together, concocted a scheme of how it might work, got a little bit of money from NIH. We tested it. We were able to produce this candidate, and more recently show that in small animals we can get protection from valley fever using this method that we developed. Thank you. You're getting a little heads up. The results of this study will be coming out in a scientific journal, about a couple months. I'm sure you'll all be reading it. But that's where we're at with that story. Okay, so now, we're looking at what's the next steps. And the next steps for us are to not just, make mice prevent them from getting valley fever, but we like to help with people as well. Also, it affects pets as well. So we're now looking at what the next steps are. The next steps for us are getting through the FDA regulations to do the safety test and get the approval from the FDA to get this on the market. And with that, requires some funding beyond the scope of our company, so we'll also be looking in the next couple months of how we're going to raise the money to do that. And if any of you would like to donate a lot, then we'd be happy to take it. Thank you.